Yo, what's up nerds? It's MTG Man, and yes, we are in fact IRL setuping, because I thought it would be cool. So first off, my birthday's coming up, and I wanted to treat myself. My Sharpie Cube's been like my main thing right now, so I've been thinking about like getting it done. So I bought myself some packs. You know, I figured I've kind of run out of like usable bulk, because there's so many cards that are just like vanillas that you can't really do shit with. I mean, there are vanillas you can do shit with, but what I'm at, I can't really do much with. So I bought a couple packs earlier, and I opened them, and I decided to do a video outside. Yeah, all you could hear was fucking wind and shit. So, you know, I got a couple more, and, you know, I'm just gonna enjoy myself. Open a couple packs, Sharpie some cards, and, you know, I figured that's just better with an audience. Earlier, y'all would not believe the luck I had earlier. I opened, like, a couple Modern Horizons, I think like 3 Modern Horizons and 2 Modern Horizons, 3 2 Bloom Burrow, 3 Modern Horizons 3. I got a Dawn's Truce, Wooded Foothills, Sapphire Medallion, Endurance, and a Rotten Mouth Viper, which I would say is like some pretty solid pulls. Right now I'm gonna be doing 4 Bloom Burrow, but yeah, anywho, let's get into it. So my only real rule is I'm probably not going to Sharpie over anything that's like over $5 or $6, because I'll just trade that in and get more bulk or packs to Sharpie over. So Frilled Spark Shooter, Bumbleflowers, Sharepot, Thornplate Intimidator, Bakerbane Duo, Sky Skipper Duo, Saver, Mind Drill Assailant, Harnesser of Storms, Stocking the Pantry, Burrowguard Mentor, Gev, Skeld Scorch, Dream Dew Entrancer, and a Daggerfang Duo. So, I don't really think there's much I can do with Daggerfang Duo. I think we could get rid of the if you control that creature. I don't really see anything else we can do. So it becomes a 4 mana 3/4 that when it enters, you tap a target creature, put 3 stun counters on it, and draw 2 cards. I feel like that's pretty good overall. Gev, Scaled Scorch. I guess we could get rid of the Lizard Word. I'm trying to remember if Gev's worth anything. I don't think so, but So whenever you cast a spell, it'll deal 1 damage to it'll deal 1 damage to target opponent. I don't think there's really much you can do here. I think technically, so since my cube is going to be 1-on-1, we could just go creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. And then we're going to get rid of for each opponent who lost life this turn. If you only have 1 opponent, you're only ever going to get 1 counter, so we might as well just make it a guarantee. I pulled a Burrowguard Mentor earlier in one of the packs, and what I did was got rid of you control and then just the flavor text, because there's nothing I can do. So basically, it's a 2 mana XX Trampler. If you have 3 creatures and your opponent has 1 creature, like, that's like a 4/4 for 2, like it could get really big. It could be a good threat. Stocking the Pantry. So I got one of these earlier too. I got rid of the put a supply counter on it line. And then just so put 1. So you enters, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and then we just have it be pay 2, draw a card. So, I mean, like, that's repeatable card draw, which I think is pretty strong overall, but, Harnesser of Storms, so we're going to get rid of whenever you cast a spell, and then just, you may play this card. So basically, every time you cast a spell, you exile the top card of your library and you can play it. I mean, it's going to go really hard in Storm decks. like I said, I opened some Bloomburrow earlier, so for a couple cards, I'm just kind of doing what I did earlier. Mind Drill Assailant. I guess what we could do is get rid of Delirium. And then, I know in some of my older cards, I went and just got rid of the parentheses to make this a full separate ability. So you pay 2 and then blue-black, then you surveil 1, and then you look at the top card of your library, which is that is surveilling 1. So you just get to surveil 1 twice. I think that's probably the best you could do with it. Savor gives target creature -2/-2 until end of turn. You create a food. And then we could probably cross out... and then all that. So then you also just gain 3 life too. It just gives you a tiny bit more value. I guess there's 2 ways you could do this. You could either just cross it all out to exile up to 1 target creature, and then it would just exile it forever. Or we could cross out, return it, just basically at the beginning of the next end step, so that it'll come back immediately. The other thing we could do, which I think I'm gonna go, we're gonna get rid of other so that it can exile itself. And then, so basically it enters, exile a creature you control, and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So you could exile it infinite times for, you know, any of those effects that are going to give you value when a creature enters. I think that's probably the best use for it. Baker's Bane Duo. When it enters, you create a food. When you expend 4, it gets +1/+1. Really not much you can do besides just making +1/+1 permanent. Like in Portal 3 Kingdoms, there are cards that, like, don't say until end of turn, so the effect is technically just permanent. I think that's probably the best thing you could do here. So I guess we are gonna go, unless... So we couldn't really do anything, because if we got rid of that, it would just be discard a card at the end, which would be you discarding a card. And then we're going to get rid of 3 life. So when it enters, target opponent sacrifices a non-land permanent. The other thing we could do is cross out non, and it'll make them just sacrifice a land. I think that's pretty mean. Bumbleflower Sharepot. Again, we could definitely get rid of the text here so that it will also just gain you 3 life. And then I think, so we go there, there. So it enters, you create a food, you gain 3 life, and then you can pay 5 and tap it to destroy target non-land permanent. I think definitely we just get rid of non-land. So it's repeatable removal, which could be really good, but that's kind of hard to say. And then Frilled Spark Shooter, when it enters, I guess the best you could do is just it enters with a +1/+1 counter, but that's not really that good. Overall, it didn't hit anything big there. Let's go Modern Horizons 3. Good set. Strong cards anyway. You know. I mean, technically the cards I pulled earlier, I think, were as valuable as the packs. So we got a Glimpse of the Impossible, Unfathomable Truths, Malevolent Rumbling, Accursed Marauder, Expel the Unworthy, Foreboding Landscape, Cyclops Storm Conductor, Envoy of the Ancestors, Planner Genesis, Razorgrass Ambush, Junk Diver, Polluted Delta. Okay, so we have another fetch land. I'm going to put that off to the side because that's one I'm going to trade in. Honestly, pretty lucky. So, let's start. So, I guess there's a couple ways we could do this. We could go exile your library. You may play those cards this turn, which, I mean, theoretically, if you have something strong, you just win. I think that's how I'm going to go. I really like the high risk, high reward. Exile your library. You may play those cards. And then I think what we do is we leave at the beginning of your next end step. If any of those cards remain in exile, put them into your graveyard. Then create a 0/1 for each card put into your graveyard this way. I mean, sure, you're going to lose the next turn unless you have some way to, like, flip your library back, but you'll have a board of, like, 40 0/1s you can sacrifice for mana. So I guess this could just be a way to add, like, 40 mana if you have some sort of instant. I think that's probably, like, the most interesting way it could be played. Unfathomable Truths. Draw 3, create a 0/1, Eldrazi spawn. Kind of boring. I don't think there's really anything we can do here. Malevolent Rumble. Put the top 4 of your library. Put a permanent card from... Okay. So I think we go... Reveal your library. You can put a permanent card from among them into your hand. Put the rest... Oh. Because here's the thing, now that I think about it. Put the rest into your graveyard. So again, if you don't get the permanent card, or even if you do get the permanent card, if you can't win, you're fucked. But, you know, that's what I was just saying. I love that high risk, high reward. And it'll add you 1 mana. So we're just gonna go with it. So when Accursed Marauder enters, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. We're gonna get rid of non-token. Well, no, it's probably better. Oh shit, I can't erase that. And then we're just gonna go draw. So you just draw. That's probably the best I could do. I kind of fucked that one up. Expel the Unworthy. So what I usually do for kicker if I really want to break them is I go boop, so that you add 2 and a white as you cast the spell, so it basically pays for itself. Choose target creature. Exile the chosen creature. I guess we could keep the life gain thing in case you needed life and this is going to save you. But I think, honestly, we just remove that. So it's a 2 mana exile target creature, and then you add 2 and a white, so it basically pays for itself. Foreboding Landscape, you've seen before. I did this in one of my last videos, so you just... get rid of cycling, so... You tap it, add colorless, black, green, blue, draw a card. So, I mean, it's a 7 mana land, a little busted, but I've kind of built my cube to be a little bit busted, so, you know, it's fine. Cyclops Superconductor. When it enters, you get 3 energy. When it dies, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. I don't really see much I can do with here except for getting rid of... Always, if you see prowess on a card, get rid of non-creature. It's just going to be better. Envoy of the Ancestors. Modified creatures you control have lifelink. So I think we get rid of... So we get rid of the word Outlast. put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So it's like a 3-mana 2/3, and we can pay white at any time to give it a +1/+1 counter. And as long as it has that counter, it'll have lifelink. I think we get rid of just modified. And so it's just creatures you control have lifelink. I mean, that's a pretty good universal pump to the board. Well, not a pump, but like an ability. Planar Genesis, I don't know. So we could just do the whole look at your library. You can put a land from among it onto the battlefield tapped. Yeah, we're just going to do that. So look at your library. You can put a land from among them onto the battlefield. If you don't put a card from among them into your hand, so I mean, it's either put your best land onto the battlefield or search for a card. I'd say that's pretty good. Razorgrass Ambush deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. We're just going to change attacking or blocking to creature. And then on the back, we're going to basically just get rid of this cost. Fuck that. So it's just a plains on the back. I would say it's pretty playable. Junk Diver, when it dies, return another artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. Always, if there's like a specification, usually, you want to get rid of that specification. Just being able to bring back any card is going to be better. I think that's probably the best we could do. Nyxborn Hydra. Enters with X +1/+1 counters. I don't really know what I can do with that. Next pack. Now, I know some of these are kind of boring. I mean, there's like a lot of things. Everything that says can only be activated once per turn. Fuck that. Alright, you want things to activate as much as possible. So, that's usually the first thing to go off a card, right? Things that say blank spell, you just change to spell, because being able to trigger off of every spell is usually going to be better than triggering off of a certain type. So Wither and Bloom, Solstice Zealot, Siege Smash, Corrupted Shape Shifter, Expanding Ooze, Conduit Goblin, Foreboding Landscape. That's a double. I'm just gonna, because I mean, as much as it would be nice to have more lands that add 7, we don't need it. Snow-Covered Wastes, Revitalizing Repast, Angel of the Ruins, Wrath of the Skies, Idol of the False Gods. So nothing like too crazy in this pack. Let's see what we can do. So we're gonna start with Wrath of the Skies. So you get, is Wrath of the Skies worth anything? I don't think it's worth anything. I don't know what I can do with this, honestly. I mean, you could just get... Destroy... So basically at this point it's a white, destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment. I mean, a 2-mana board wipe is really, really good. I think that's probably the best way you can take it. So we're going to get rid of the word plains. So it's just 2, discard this card, search your library for a card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. I would say that's pretty solid. And then it entering and exiling up to 2 artifacts or enchantments. I don't think there's really anything we can do with that. Revitalizing Repast. We can get rid of the end of turn, so that's permanent. Like I said, Portal 3 Kingdoms. I don't think there's really anything else, except, of course, on the back, we get rid of the enters the battlefield tapped. So just... I don't really like doing the whole removing until end of turn thing. I think, honestly, well, yeah, it makes kind of sense. It's hard to keep track of, so a lot of times I don't do it, but we'll see if that makes it into the cube or not. Exile target creature an opponent controls. So we're just going to get rid of that. Create a 2/1, and then target creature you control against double strike. Honestly, really, it's a bad removal spell, and then it gives you an OK counter, or an OK token. It's kind of whatever. Conduit Goblin, so when it enters you get energy. So we get rid of this. So it has Storm. You'll notice a lot of cards in the flavor text will have the word Storm. Give cards Storm. Every card is better with Storm. When it enters, you add 2 energy. At the beginning of combat, you can pay energy. If you do, another target creature. We're just going to get rid of the word another. So just target creature you control gets +1/+1 in haste. Again, we get rid of the end of turn. It's okay. When expanding ooze attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target modified creature you control. We're going to get rid of the word modified. We remove all that. And then for adapt, we get rid of the if this has no +1/+1 counters on it part, so that it's just a black-green, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Overall, I think that's pretty okay. It'll help bump up your board, and you can just pay to make it bigger. Corrupted Shape Shifter. When it enters, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 with flying, a 2/5 with vigilance, or a 0/12 with defender. So here's a long shot. You're not ready for this one. Okay, so when it enters, it becomes a, come on, deep blur yourself. It becomes a 5/12 creature. A 5/12 for 4 is pretty good, probably the best blocker you're ever going to have. And sure, you're losing out on some of the abilities like vigilance or flying, but you take what you can get. Siege Smash, I got this card earlier. The most evil thing you can do is go... And then so it's a 1 in a red. Players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. So unless your opponent has a way to counterspell this, no spells for the rest of the game for either of you, and it destroys a creature. So if your opponent had 1 creature, they can't play anymore. You destroyed their 1 creature. Even if you just have a 1/1, you're swinging for game. That's basically how this runs out. I just thought it was interesting. I don't think there's much we can do with Solstice Sell It. I looked at Wither and Bloom earlier. I can't figure out how, because I don't want it to exile itself from the graveyard. I want to be able to activate that multiple times, but I don't know how we can indicate that the ability can be activated from the graveyard without it being like exile this card from the graveyard. So if you have any thoughts on that, that would be interesting. Idol of False Gods. Okay, so... I don't really know what to do with that, honestly. I'm a little lost on that one. Next pack. What am I hoping for here? I'm really hoping for an Ulamog. I'm just saying, if I get an Eldrazi Titan, I might consider Sharpieing on it if I see something cool to do. I'm gonna be real. I like money, and I like being able to get more cards. But if I see an Eldrazi Titan, and I see some crazy-ass thing I can do to it, that's what I'm doing, alright? Yeah. Fanged Flames. Why is this colorless? Like, okay, so talk me through this, right? Because we have Ugin's Ghostfire. That's colorless because that's Ugin's thing. And then we have the other spells with Devoid are colorless because they're Eldrazi. Since when did the Eldrazi have, like, cat-shaped fire? Either Spike, Nightshade Dryad, Refurbished Familiar, Scott Knight, Void Pouncer. Kind of looks like Carnage. I like that. Warp Tusker, Sneaky Snacker, Marionette Apprentice, Proud Pack Rhino. Ooh, hello. I didn't mean to see that. Hydroelectric Specimen, Meltdown, Amphibian Downpour, Hexgold Slith. Oh. I really thought this was something cool. I mean, like, I guess you could just Sharpie on it and say, like, I really missed, okay. This is my man, Jesus. He says you win. How much? Oh, Jesus costs, 1. I like him. He's a friend. Yeah, but, other than that, Amphibian Downpour. So, already has Storm. I don't really see anything we can do with that. I think we just get rid of and just make it destroy each artifact. I think the thing about destroy each artifact is that I really don't think I have that many artifacts in here, so if that's actually good, who knows? I don't really know what we can do with the front. The back, we just cross out all that and make it an island. Proud Pack Rhino. So we could get rid of choose 1 to just put a shield counter on a target permanent and proliferate, but I think that's really a boring change. Marionette Apprentice. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put in the graveyard, I think we get rid of from the battlefield. So just when this creature enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 1/1, and then whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard, we can get rid of. So if you mill over a bunch of creatures and artifacts, it could just burn your opponent out. Sneaky Snacker I did earlier, so we would just cross out. So it's just when you draw, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield. That's it. So, I mean, a 2-mana 2/1 that just when you draw for turn, you bring it back is pretty good, honestly. You can sacrifice it over and over, that sort of thing. Warp Tusker, I got one of these earlier. I did a similar thing to the lands where, here that, and then when you, so when you cast it, you create a 0/1 that has sacrifice this creature, add colorless, 2 colorless green, 2 colorless green, draw a card. Which you'll notice that adds up to 7 mana. So technically, if you sacrifice it, this card basically paid for itself. You just have to be at 7 mana first, which, you know. Void Pouncer. We could get rid of the, you may pay an additional 2 and a colorless, just make it, you may add 2 and a colorless. So just, it enters with 2 +1/+1 counters on a trample counter, and with haste. So it's a 2-mana 5/3. I think that's pretty good, honestly, just a 2-mana 5/3 as is. Rose Scott Knight. When it enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. I think we do that thing where we just say, look at your library, and then you just search for any artifact or enchantment. I'm kind of bored of doing that. But yeah, that's probably what you do. Refurbished Familiar. Affinity for artifacts. When it enters, each opponent discards a card. And then we're going to get rid of that second part. So it's just each opponent discards, you draw. And then I'm not really sure if there's anything else we could do. I mean, we could, I've done this before where you get rid of the mana cost and then the spell costs 1. So, okay. So we get rid of the mana cost and we make it, this spell costs 1 to cast for each artifact you control. So if you have no artifacts, it's free. I think that's definitely the best way to do it. Nightshade Dryad. So you can either add colorless, add 1 mana of any color. I think we get rid of that. So it adds colorless and 1 mana of any color. I think that's probably all we can do. Aether Spike, counter target spell, you get to, choose target spell, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy, counter that spell, unless its controller pays 1 for each energy paid this way. We could just make it counter that spell. I think that's probably the best thing you can do, so it's just a 2 mana counter spell. And then you add 2 energy. Not that you're guaranteed to have anything to do with energy, but, you know. Then Fanged Flames. It deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile instead. That's, yeah, I think all you could really do is just get rid of creature or planeswalker to just deals 4 damage to target. But even then, like, that's not any target, so I don't really, it's shaky, it's up in the air. Last pack, really hoping, I want me something strong. I want something, you know, whatever people do, I don't know. I don't fucking watch pack openings. I'm struggling to open it. I think that's a good sign. Overall, I haven't really been doing a lot of Magic stuff. Like, I've been thinking about it, but, like, I've been so fucked with work. You know, MTG, man, be getting that bag, because I appreciate each and every one of my 61 subscribers. But I don't get paid till I have, like, 10,000 or something, so, you know, YouTube really ain't the career right now. Mandibular Kite. I like this thing. It kind of, I don't know if you can see it, it kind of gives me that, like, Mothman silhouette of him, like, you got, like, the eyes, and, like, I like that. That's cool. Sarpardian Simulacrum, Sage of the Unknowable, Horrific Assault. I fucking love the art on Horrific Assault. It's so cool. I love the artist. I don't know if it's the same artist as Glimpse the Unknowable, but I really like that guy. Or girl. Is it a guy or a girl? Justine Jones. So I'm gonna say that's probably a girl. Eviscerator's Insight, Bountiful Landscape. We already have one of these in the Sharpie Cube. I would do the same thing where you just add 7 mana and draw a card. I think that's kind of boring, but Ghostfire Slice, Urza's Cave. Already have an Urza's Cave in the cube too. Spoke Battle Wagon, Lethal Throwdown, Junk Diver, another Polluted Delta. I mean, like, I'm not even mad. Like, I can't be mad, it's a fetch land, but, like, it's just kind of funny in a sense. It's like, so when I opened Modern Horizons 2, right, I would say I was kind of lucky. I probably opened at least, like, booster box and a half worth. I opened a shit ton of that set. And I would say I was kind of lucky. I got a lot of mythics, right? But I got, I think, like 4 Scion of Ur-Dragons, or, yeah, no, 4 Scion of Ur-Drago, not or Dragon. Scion of Dragon is still like a $5 card, I think. But no, the colorless one. I got like 5 Archon of Cruelties, but this was when they were like $2, and I sold them at $2 because I thought they were bad, and now they're like actually worth something because people play them. I think I didn't pull a single Ragavan. I didn't pull any of the good mythics. Well, I mean, I guess Archon is a good mythic now. And I think I pulled like 2 fetch lands. And it was so weird because I opened so much of the set, but there are so many Modern Horizons 2 cards I look at and I'm like, I didn't pull a single, like, Scour the Skies. Like, I didn't see a single one in all the cards I opened. So it's just interesting. So we're just gonna toss Junk Diver. We already did one. Thriving Skyclaw. We're gonna get rid of the You May Pay. So you just put a +1/+1 counter on it when it attacks. Gremlins, Lethal Throwdown. So sacrifice a creature or sacrifice a modified creature. We're gonna get rid of the additional cost. So it's a 1 mana, destroy target creature or planeswalker, draw a card. I'd say that's pretty good. I guess what we could do is, I usually don't like getting rid of costs. Well, that's a lie. I don't like getting rid of like mana costs, sometimes ability costs, but it's really complicated. So you can just tap to draw a card. Tap target creature and pay 4 and it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. I think that's probably best we can do. Ghostfire Slice. So you could just, this spell costs 2 less to cast. And then, so basically it costs 2 less to cast, so it's a 1 mana deal 4. It's an upgrade to Lightning Bolt. However, in my Sharpie Cube, Lightning Bolt has Storm because of the flavor text. So it's a downgrade to Lightning Bolt, kind of. Eviscerator's Insight. It's an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice. So, see, it's hard too because sometimes I don't want to like get rid of the sacrifice cost because some decks want that sacrifice, or some decks want to discard. So it's kind of hard. And then we're just gonna get rid of that. So it's a 2 mana draw 2 that you can cast from your graveyard for its cost. So 2 mana. I think that's it's a really good repeatable draw spell. You notice a lot of cards that like we made Gev, just whenever you cast a spell it deals 1 damage. So this is just repeatable from your graveyard. If you have some sort of infinite mana, this will probably, you just cast it infinitely. Horrific Assault. We're gonna get rid of the if you control. So it just, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. I have really been thinking about, because we've seen so much of the Eldrazi in this set, are we going back to Innistrad and seeing what the fuck Emrakul's doing in the Moon? I like Emrakul a lot, so I've been like really hoping we'll get an update on that, but you know, hard to tell. Sage of the Unknowable. So even then, like, it's just kind of bad. Again, like, you can't really do much besides just making target creature target and making that be, like, target player or something. Like, there's not too much you can do with it. And then Mandibular Kite. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. I don't think there's anything you can do. I think that's probably the best we're gonna get. I think, so the good thing about Modern Horizons 3 is that some of the cards are, like, revisiting things like Living Weapon, and I think there's definitely some strength in, like, reusing old abilities in new ways and whatever. But some of them are, like, Living Weapon isn't an ability you can really Sharpie around. There are a lot of cards that, like, the Sharpie changes are minuscule. Like, this isn't a Living Weapon, but just making it add a colorless really isn't going to change it. It's not really going to be all that much better. I mean, blue mana dorks are cool and all, but, you know, if there are certain cards where their viability changes completely, like, being able to just bring back Sneaky Snacker every draw is going to be a lot more valuable. Or, like, destroying all artifacts with Meltdown is probably going to be better. But it's really hard to tell balance-wise with cards you're Sharpieing. That being said, this has been MTG Man signing off. Live long and prosper. I think that's my catchphrase. And y'all have a good one, I guess. I don't know. Tell me if I missed anything. Let me know. MTG Man, you absolute fuck up. Why didn't you Sharpie a card like this? Why didn't you make this ability this? You don't understand the rules. Which, actually, the guy who cleared up the one rules thing the other day, that was really good. I like when people, like, bring up, like, hey, this card won't work. Because, like, I think that's, like, a really important discussion to have. Because I'm not, like, a rules expert. So, yeah. MTG Man signing off. Peace.